What if you boarded a plane and realized the cockpit was empty? No pilot, no co-pilot. Just silence and control slipping away. Imagine flying thousands of feet above the ground with nothing but a blinking light guiding the way. Would you stay calm, or would fear take over? This isn't fiction. This is a true story that will make you question every flight you take. Stay with us to uncover the terrifying mystery of the pilotless flight. The window seat haunting. We had only been seeing each other for a few weeks when she invited me to fly with her to Denver. It wasn't romantic, just a trip she had planned. What caught my attention was how she bought our tickets herself and made sure we both had window seats. I thought it was strange since that meant we wouldn't sit together. When I asked her why, she just looked at me quietly and said, "He doesn't like when someone sits by the window." It felt like a joke, but her serious tone made me uneasy. During the flight, I kept glancing out the window. The sky was dark navy blue, the plane steady, but something felt off. About 30 minutes in, I noticed 4 long smudge, like marks on the window, like something had dragged across it. I looked away, but the feeling of being watched stayed. She never moved from the window seat, barely blinking, just staring outside. That night, I started feeling a cold chill that didn't go away. When I checked the window reflection, I swear it blinked before I did. I didn't know what to think, but her words kept ringing in my head. He doesn't like when someone sits by the window. Something was out there, breathing sharp and shallow. Her hand gripped the wall tightly like she was holding something back. When I whispered her name, she flinched and warned me to go back to my seat. Her voice trembled, and she said, "I saw him earlier. He was standing right outside my window on the wing." I froze, unsure what to say. She told me, "You'll understand if you ever see him. If you're not by the window, he can reach you." I nodded, promising to return, but before I left, I glanced out the window once more. For a brief moment, I thought I saw a face pressed against the glass, a pale, ghostly silhouette staring in. Back in my seat, the cold chill returned. The empty seat beside me seemed heavier, as if someone unseen had just stood up. The overhead light flickered, then went out. Suddenly, the window shade lifted a little on its own, revealing outside. I saw a pale hand tapping against the glass slowly, once, then again. My heart raced as I yanked the shade down hard, but everyone else seemed frozen in time, eyes closed, like nothing was happening. As the flight went on, the strange feeling didn't leave me. The cold chill stayed, and the air around my seat felt heavy, like something invisible was pressing down. Suddenly, the window shade beside me started to lift on its own, just a few inches. I didn't touch it, but I saw outside, a pale hand resting against the glass, fingers spread wide, tapping once, then again. My breath caught, and I yanked the shade down quickly, almost hitting it in panic. I looked around, hoping someone else noticed, but everyone nearby sat frozen, eyes closed, like they were ignoring what I had seen. The overhead light above the empty seat flickered twice, then went out completely. The chill in my fingers wouldn't go away, and the air felt heavier, thicker, almost suffocating. The flight continued without incident, but the silence around me was too quiet, too strange. When we landed, she finally spoke, telling me, "He gets curious when people sit in the aisle." Then she vanished from my life, leaving me wondering if what I experienced was real, or if it was something darker, waiting for me by the window seat. The locked lavatory mystery. It was a long flight from Boston to Seattle when things started to feel strange. About an hour after takeoff, a passenger in a hoodie walked to the back to use the lavatory. He went inside, and the door clicked shut behind him. But he never came out. The flight attendants tried knocking and opening the door with a key, but it wouldn't budge. The passengers around the back grew uneasy, whispering but staying calm. The occupied sign stayed on, but no sound came from inside. No announcements were made, and the crew seemed tense but didn't explain anything. The mystery deepened as the door stayed locked, and the man was nowhere to be found. Everyone on the plane felt the quiet fear of something wrong, but no one knew what to do. As the locked lavatory door refused to open, tension filled the cabin. Flight attendants tried repeatedly with keys and tools, but the handle just spun without unlocking. The occupied sign stayed lit, and the man who went inside was nowhere to be found. Passengers whispered nervously, but no one panicked. The flight crew quietly withdrew behind the curtain, leaving everyone with a strange silence. The cabin lights flickered oddly, adding to the uneasy feeling. The digital flight map froze, showing no movement, and the air seemed heavier, making it hard to breathe. No one tried to force the door open anymore, and the quiet fear settled in, like everyone was silently waiting for something unknown. The locked door remained a mystery. The cabin grew eerily quiet as time passed with the lavatory door still locked. No one moved or spoke, even the flight attendants stayed behind the curtain, avoiding the situation. The usual noises of the flight, people shifting, talking, moving, faded away. The flight map on the screen was frozen, and no one knew where the plane was. Passengers tried calling for help, but the buttons didn't work. The tension was heavy, but no one panicked or tried to take action. It was like everyone had silently agreed to accept whatever was happening. Then, suddenly, the lavatory door creaked open just a crack, revealing darkness inside. No one reacted. The flight landed quietly without any announcements, and the crew moved calmly as if nothing had happened. The mystery of the locked door stayed with everyone, unanswered and chilling. The invisible passenger. On a weekend trip to Denver, I had the window seat with the entire row to myself. My wife sat a few rows behind, and everything seemed normal at first. But soon, I started feeling a strange presence beside me. It was like someone was there, even though the seat was empty. I felt watched, and an uneasy chill crept over me. I tried to ignore it, thinking maybe it was just nerves. But the feeling didn't go away. It grew stronger. I kept glancing at the empty seat beside me, feeling a weight as if someone invisible was sitting there. It was a quiet, heavy presence that made me tense and alert. That strange feeling stayed with me through the whole flight, making it hard to relax. During the flight, that strange feeling turned into something more real. Suddenly, I felt a cold hand slip into mine, not grabbing, just gently holding like someone needing comfort. I didn't open my eyes at first, thinking maybe my wife had moved up to sit beside me. But when I looked, the seat was still empty. The touch felt firm and colder than a human hand, like something trying to copy a real touch but failing. It lasted for a couple of seconds before I jerked my arm away, hitting the window in surprise. The grip vanished immediately, and I sat there with my heart pounding, staring at the empty seat. The light above flickered softly, and outside, the sky was thick with clouds. I couldn't explain what I felt. It was real but impossible to understand. After the cold touch, the empty seat beside me felt even more unsettling. I noticed an indentation, like someone had just stood up, and the armrest was raised, though I hadn't touched it. It was as if the invisible passenger had shifted position. My wife, sitting a few rows behind, looked at me with narrowed eyes, warning me silently not to move closer. The feeling of being watched grew stronger, and I pressed the call button. Nothing happened. The seatbelt light stayed on, and the air around me felt heavy. Even when the plane landed, that empty seat seemed to hold an unseen weight. My wife whispered, "It followed you?" And I realized this presence wasn't going away. That invisible passenger stayed with me, a silent shadow on the flight. The pilotless flight. On a red-eye flight from San Diego to Atlanta, things felt off from the start. About an hour into the flight, I noticed the cockpit door was open. Curious, I unbuckled and quietly walked to the front. When I peeked inside, the cockpit was completely empty. No pilot, no co-pilot, just dark panels and empty chairs. A single green light blinked on the console. I backed away slowly, my heart pounding. The flight attendant nearby told me to stay seated and said, "It's not the first time." Her tired eyes didn't show fear, but I could tell she'd seen something strange before. I returned to my seat, confused and scared. The plane was flying itself, and no one explained what was happening. It was a flight controlled by something unknown, with no pilots in sight. As the flight went on, the cabin grew eerily silent. The usual hum of conversations and movement disappeared. The flight attendants stayed behind the curtain, quiet and still. The digital flight map froze, showing no movement, and no one knew where we were. The pilot never spoke again, and the intercom only gave calm orders to stay seated. Phones lost signal, and no one could call for help. The air felt heavy, and the tension grew as we flew without any control. Passengers stopped trying to move, accepting the strange situation. It felt like the plane was guided by something unseen, and no one questioned it. The silence in the cabin was deep, filled with fear but no panic. Just a quiet acceptance of the unknown. After what felt like hours of silence and fear, the plane finally began its descent. The cabin lights dimmed almost completely, and everyone sat still, eyes forward, no one speaking. The landing was smooth, almost too perfect, like we had been placed gently on the runway. When the seatbelt sign turned off, passengers stood and gathered their bags without a word, as if they had rehearsed it all. The crew remained calm and mechanical, showing no sign of the strange events that had happened. At the gate, a staff member asked if I was sure I was on that flight. She said it landed earlier than scheduled and that no one was missing. I didn't argue. Something inside me knew we hadn't landed in the same place we took off from. The flight was over, but the mystery stayed with me. If this story gave you chills, hit that subscribe button and join us for more real life mysteries that will keep you on the edge of your seat. What would you do if you found yourself on a flight without pilots? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your theories. And don't miss our next video. 3TRU horrifying cabin horror stories, more terrifying tales await.